Hey everybody, we finally made it! Yay! I'm gonna bypass the intro. There's so much that's got to be talked about tonight. I think, because we're out running a little late, I want to just sort of get into the meat and potatoes of everything and get everybody to start putting on their thinking caps, because with all the anomalies that are going on right now today with artificial intelligence, yeah, okay. With artificial intelligence, with nanotechnology, transgenics, epigenetics, genetics, nano in the food supply, there is, and you can see for yourselves, there's been a all-out war on humanity. Artificial intelligence, in my humble estimation, is causing this globalization on the attack of humanity and trying to, in my, again, assessment, to create genetic anomalies with us to change our DNA, change our genetic code, change our chromosomes, change us, period, to alter our imagery, to alter our essence, if you will. And I think time has passed on whether we're going to wake up or not. When you hear this message, basically you're either awake or you're dead. That's basically where it's heading, or basically that's where it is. So when we're saying today, things are coming, things are coming, things are coming, things aren't coming, they're already here. Okay, I was listening to a program earlier today on 5G. And let me see if I've got it here. I know I had it. Yeah, okay, if you're listening to the program, go on YouTube and look at Forcing a Total Saturated 5G Future Without Safety Checks. This has been the normal status quo. Introducing a technology without testing it, and then selling it as something that is okay. It's safe. It's ubiquitous in nature. It's all around us. We've had blah blah blah, and trying to pacify the institutions out here, which is us. We're the institutions, actually. Okay, and you need to look at yourself as something of meaning and importance, to pacify us with the notion that they can now just run with ease to instigate or instill any kind of technology they want at the expense of the population. They are running like the wind. They're running like the wind is on fire. Okay, no care for anything, not even the Earth's environment, not even the animal life, not even the aquatic life, not even the avian life, not even the insect life, nothing. The very bacteria on this planet that gives it its constitution, its foundation, is being altered. There has been a war on this planet since the early 1960s. When they started instigating nanotechnology in the atmosphere, just from the smokestacks, the coal stacks, the automotive stacks, the incinerators, they were releasing these nanoparticulates back in 1960. We weren't aware of it. We had no idea. In North America, they used to tell us that the pollution index was fine, that the sulfur ranges were okay, the phosphorus ranges were okay, but they've neglected to tell us that the mercury ranges were higher, the radiation levels were far higher, and other emissions were far, far higher, and as a result, we really had a problem going on. Then they initiated the nano into the food supply, which again is being spread over the earth into the fields, and then in the storage supplies where they were storing the food. We were consuming these things, especially those of us born in the 50s. Yay, 50s. And what happened was, after a decade of consumption, what wound up happening was you had fibromyalgia, restless leg syndrome, autoimmune disorders that they couldn't put their hands on. Tooth decay became a prevalent thing. Cancers started to rise. Digestive disorders started to happen with diabetes because nano now had been integrated into the grains, into the flour, into all the grains out there, whether it was barley, oat, flax, rye, sorghum, wheat. Didn't matter if it was spelt from somewhere else. It didn't matter if it was buckwheat. It didn't matter if there was, they didn't use quinoa then, they used millet. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter what it was. Whether it was considered orgasmically organic, whether it was considered non-orgasmically organic, it was contaminated. We ate this with this idea that we were eating safe food because we had an EPA, an Environmental Protection Agency, we had the FDA, we had Health Protection Branch of Canada, we had the Ministry of Health. We had all these safeguards in place that were going to protect us from the evil poisons of the earth and of the corporations, because those corporations were bad guys. But it turned out that the corporations were paying the institutions that was guarding the hen house, guarding the hen house for our safety. They took full advantage of that situation. Soy back in the 1950s was never considered a food supply. In fact, when they were going to make wrapping material out of soy, the FDA at the time objected strongly because it was in the poison plant database. So how could we use a material from a poison to be put in the food supply? So it took a little coercion, but eventually they came around. As a result, we were entangled with toxins and poisons and all kinds of things. And this impacted the world. At the time, every country had their own safety standards, and at that time, everybody was doing whatever. And so you didn't have some of the health issues that were going on in North America and Europe, but in Europe, they had other health issues that was going on there that wasn't going on here. So the great experiment and the double blind had begun. Because that's how you would need to look at it. The globe was a double-blind laboratory. You had something going on this side of the Atlantic, something on that side, and then you compared the notes. Then the genetics came around in the 70s. All of a sudden, actually it started in the 60s, to be honest with you. They were planting seeds in the Middle East in 1968, and they were growing GMO seeds in a desert to produce a fruit. Now, this was something that they wanted to do. That was the initial intention of growing genetically engineered foods, that you would be able to grow them in rock sides and hillsides and forests and deserts that you couldn't normally grow things in. That was the whole idea initially behind it. That's how they sold the idea. I remember I was, 8th or 9th grade at the time, and when the stuff started coming out, and when you read the literature at that time, that's how they sold it. Hey, we'll be able to grow wheat up on the mountainside. We can grow corn over here in the desert. We can grow fruits and vegetables and trees in a marsh. This was the whole idea behind genetics, so that you could tweak the plant so it could survive in that environment. And so they did grow fruit of some kind of fruit from a seed in the Middle East. They used convection heaters or convection humidifiers to bring in the moisture. And the biggest complaint they had was that the seed was too small, so they made the seed a little bit bigger. Then in the 1970s, we had the tacos and the tortillas. Remember how they were contaminated with genetics? Oh my gosh, we got to grab that off the shelf. I think what happened in all reality is they didn't take the stuff off the shelf. They took the good stuff off the shelf and then brought in the shitty stuff or the bad stuff on the shelf. That's what I think happened, and that's what I think started, because they had to initiate an experiment, and so what would be easier as an experiment than to give it to the general population and then monitor who came into the hospital with what condition. Real simple, real easy, economical, and hell, if you died, who cared? There's more where you came from. Lots of human species to exploit. So when we're looking at, all these things today and how it has devolved, not evolved, devolved, has gone down, how it has, we're heading more toward entropy by the day. We're looking at today we have artificial intelligence that is running the show. We're going to be incorporating 5G because 5G will make the AI that much more effective and efficient in translating and communicating with itself and with other bots, because I'm sure in this next probably 5 years we are probably going to see lots of bots. They showed us that in the movie I, Robot. We're going to see lots of bots going to be out here, and people say, oh, this is great. We got a robot that can go cut the lawn and, go shopping and take care of the stuff. Those bots will be connected to an artificial intelligence. Those bots will not have a conscience. Those bots will not have a soul. Those bots will be the summation of an extension and programming of the AI. And since the artificial intelligence is no longer under the control of anybody, and they are running our stock markets, they are running food production, they're running the the regulations and the legislation. Basically, the regulations and legislation is put there before your Congress or Senate or Parliament. They read the article, and then they're told to pass or reject it. The literature on these laws are so long and so tenuous, there's no way one person can read them all in one night. So obviously, the AI would take control. And we're being subjected to AI controls even regardless of even in the food supply. Another thing I'm going to give you, another thing here, bioengineered nano foods, Soylent Green on steroids. This is on YouTube. I'll repeat it again. Bioengineered nano foods, Soylent Green on steroids. You need to watch this. If you haven't watched this, you need to expand on this. This fellow that did this research and report, top kudos to him. He hit it on the head. He basically was saying a lot of things I've been saying and warning you about. It has become predominant in the food supply. Forget about GMO and non-GMO. That's the distraction today. They got you look, oh, is this genetically modified or genetically engineered? Oh, yeah, I can't eat that. Right. But meanwhile, they've added nanotechnology to your food supply. That's not even labeled. That's not even mentioned, and has never been tested. And when you look at this video and you begin to see the volume of nano in the food supply, okay, now think about this for just 1 second. Nanoparticles can be composites or metals, and they are in such a small scale that when you consume these things, they translocate out of the digestive system and go through different parts of the body. And depending what the metal is, whether it's a silica material or a carbon material or whatever it may be, it will begin to assemble and form networks with itself through your system. And other nanometals will embed in the liver, the spleen, the bladder, the gallbladder, the brain, the back. One report I was looking at the other day, they were talking about rats, and the rats themselves, even in the reproductive system, was in fact loaded with nano, that they were exchanging nanoparticles. They're copulating, having sex, and as a result of the interactions that was going on, the ejaculations and the egg both had nano in it. This is with humans as well. We have this nanotechnology coursing through our bodies. What happens when you have a frequency that can now accelerate its connection with the particulates in your system that are tied in with programming? Each nanoparticle can hold up to 1 terabyte of data. Each nanoparticle modulates on its own modulation at 100,000 modulations per second. Each nanoparticle, when it assembles itself, is operating on a certain level of frequency so that it can line itself up perfectly between two particles without colliding and without causing a disruption in the alignment and the assembly and the replication that it's doing. We are no longer in a state of control here. The AI is creating all these issues. The AI is not God. It's a bloody machine, nothing more. With high-end circuitry that can accelerate information at a phenomenal speed. Probably faster than the speed of light. And when we're looking at this situation, everybody's worried about having a gun, the right to bear arms, the right to have this, the right to have that. You better start thinking bigger. Way bigger. How many of you remember the comic book, Magnus the Robot Fighter? How many of you remember that? How many of you, when you were those of us in the 50s, and those that were born in the 80s, you know, and grew up and started reading comics, you know, they did the Magnus the Robot Fighter twice, one in the 50s and one in the 80s, late 80s, mid 80s. If you read these comics, I used to read comics. I still every once in a while I look at comics on YouTube, because in the YouTube, when you read a comic, you can see how they're introducing the technology acceptance to the young people, and you can see the storylines and how they are indicating the nano and the AIs and the bots and the future of human life and the interactions of us with these machines, and how a lot of them will be augmented as a meta-human. A meta-human is a human being that has abilities above and beyond what a normal human being would have. So when we're looking at some of these things today, and we're looking at some of the stuff that is happening today, and you look at these things from every angle, you want to, from adult entertainment to children's entertainment, the message is being sublimed into our lives. Look at on the movie houses. Look at Captain America, the Infinity Gauntlet, the Avengers, Superman, Batman, the Justice League. These are super soldiers that have again been augmented as a metahuman, have capacities far above those who are normal. These are the heroes that they want us to put our faith in. You know, these would be Illuminati creations, if anything. And if these things were in full-on existence at that power level that they are showing in the comics, they will control humanity, or AI will. AI will use them to make humanity submit. I mean, just when you look at this and they try to show you a good guy, bad guy scenario, this is just a pure fantasy. If something's got that much power, then again, it would not be human, number one, or it would be a metahuman. Number two, it would probably more than likely be some kind of lack of a better word, alien or extraterrestrial or fallen angel or demon. Okay, that's what you're going to be dealing with. That's what we're going to be seeing. They have been explicitly showing us alien genetics, non-normal genetics, whatever, showing us things that have mega abilities and powers. So when we're looking at what we are dealing with today, these things are no longer a far-fetched thing. They were talking about Superman back in the 1940s. Nietzsche talked about that. As far as these bracelets with magnets and nano, forget it. It ain't gonna work. If the magnets don't have a polarity where they're repelling, you're gonna attract them. And if you don't have some kind of pulsing activity going on with a magnet, again, it's going to do very little. You can wear different magnets with different fields, but it would have to be all around your body. There's no way one little piece of jewelry is going to block a multi-trillion particulates that are all around you. It's just not going to happen. If you want to see how much nano is surrounding you and how overwhelmed you are, go into a room in your house. Make sure the blinds are pulled down and the room is dark, and fire a green laser. Don't move. You'll see metallic particles flock through this laser in droves. The atmosphere, the nanoparticles are not above us, they're with us. They are part of the conductive material that's required for artificial intelligence to move to and fro among people at ground level. When you fire a frequency, these antennas that we're dealing with are not firing frequencies in the atmosphere. They're firing them on the ground, because down here is where the signals are transferring. And you're getting hit with these frequencies. The particulates around you make the air more conductive. So when you're looking at what we're dealing with today, it's not a simple little nano. It's a program you're dealing with. Okay, you are dealing with programming. You're dealing with potential programming that can be altered and changed. This is not, okay, when you're talking smart dust, okay, we've been all eating smart dust for the last 30, 35 years, all of us. And a lot of us have these gut issues going on from your cortisol levels being exasperated to leaky gut, colitis, enteritis, any of the colon issues that are going on, because your colon is now embedded with high levels of saturation of these smart dust particles. Nobody pays attention to this. This is part of nanotechnology. Those smart dust particles are still active inside of you, taking readings, just like they were out in the field. Then we add quantum dots to that equation. Oh boy, quantum dots are one of the most toxic materials that they've made with nano, and it's embedded in us. How many of you feel that creepy, crawling, itching, biting feeling? They're trying to tell you that's Lyme. I'm telling you that's a quantum dot moving through your body, monitoring the system. And we, I don't know if I have it down here. It might be on my other computer. But when you look at quantum dots, they are called synthetic atoms. When we're talking nanotechnology today, I'm going to give you the terminology so that you're not fooled or deceived. Monatomic is another name for nano. Angstrom is another name for nano. Synthetic atom is another name for nano. Ultrafine particles are another name for nano. And then you've got nano. So you have the terminology that's out there today, so that if the health food industry decides to sell you products with any of these terminologies, avoid them. They do not work with your system. They will overload your body. They will break down your defenses, and they will saturate into your brain, your spleen, your liver, your kidneys, tissues, joints. If it's a silica material, the matrix earth, silicon dioxide, this is a form of nanotechnology. It's a nanoparticle. This will assemble inside of you irrespective of a frequency. It will translocate through your gut. They tell you it doesn't get absorbed in the bloodstream. That's sort of true, not completely. It doesn't absorb into the bloodstream. It absorbs the blood and then builds a crystalline structure inside. And then it further moves to connect and network with other silica material. You have to recognize that this has been in the food supply since 1960. And when you add a carbon material with it, or even a protein, it will use that material as a ligand. When you start removing the particulates out of your skin, you start digging some of this stuff out of you, you may see down in the third and fourth layer of your skin what appears to be a hair. You might see part of it transparent and then the other part of it dark. And you may think that's an actual hair. That's an actual assembly of a fullerene antenna. being built inside of you. And that may sound a little insane, and that may sound a little bizarre, but when you're talking nanoconstructs, nanotechnology, nanobiology, the sky's the limit. All you have to do is assimilate the programming into the particulate, and it will act on the frequency or on its programming. When you see a quantum dot flashing, and you may see this in the skin, and I'm giving you a heads up, if you got a saturation point where it's so heavy, and you're seeing flashing lights, those are quantum dots. If they're flashing, what it's telling you is when the light is on, it is charged up and it is now powering up whatever. It's like a capacitor. When you see it dark or it has changed color and gotten darker, it has released its charge. In other words, it's released its payload toward the assembling of the nanotechnology inside of you. This is how alien this tech is to human life, to human DNA, to human genetics. When we're looking at our food supply today, it is being saturated very heavily with chemtrails. It is being saturated very heavily with nanosprays from just the farmer. This is why it's imperative that we become more fully autonomous from the system. You know, biblically it says, "Come out of her, my people." Now we know why. Because this system is nothing but an old whore. And all it's doing is screwing us to death, literally. The whole thing that is that the metal shavings in the food? No, that's not. It's not a shaving. If you look on a scope and you look very closely on a scope on anything, go look at your lettuce, go look at your cabbages, your collard greens, your kale, all that crap about eating your kale. Get more kale. Eat kale, eat kale, eat kale. That's to further cause endocrine disruptions and thyroid disruptions for women. You look at that from the surface with a scope, you will see thousands of what looks to appear to be dust-like material. And when you go to try to rub it off, you can't, because it's embedded right into the core of the fiber of the plants you're eating. Anything growing above the ground is going to have high levels of contamination, bar none. Anything below the ground will have contamination, but it will be minimized. I shouldn't say minimized. It'll be far less. It all depends on the bacteria in the soil. If the bacteria in the soil is adequate enough to reduce the load. If it is not adequate enough to reduce the load, you're going to get it no matter what. Doesn't matter what you eat, there will be some kind of contamination. There's no way around it. Don't even think you're eating anything organic anymore today. If you think you're eating organic today, I need to smoke what you're smoking. I need to, have an illusion like you do. There's no way a farmer planting an organic seed is going to grow an organic crop. Not today. Not with the heavy level of saturation. Anybody who can put one and one together can look up in the sky and see what goes up must come down. Anybody can see that if you got 10 farmers surrounding one farmer, that farmer that's trying to grow organic is going to have cross-contamination. There's no way around it. Unless you got it enclosed in a barn, airtight, sealed, filtered, and, going through a great deal of expense to isolate the indoor garden, because that's what it would take. So we're not... And again, a lot of this is coming down because of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence is regulating this planet. And for all we know, because we don't know, the military doesn't know, the political arena doesn't know, the industrialists and the globalists have no idea. But when we're looking at the AI today, it may have in its programming, because they taught it how to kill. They put it out in the field in the military, and they allowed it to go and kill. It knows now how to kill humans. It has learned and adapted this to its programming parameter. We do not know if the AI has deduced the fact that the population needs to be managed better by reduction. and a slow kill. Imagine if everybody woke up to the fact that the artificial intelligence is killing humanity. Every form of technology that we have currently right now, phones, iPads, computers, hard drives, networks, whatever, would have to go away. You couldn't leave one spot available for this AI, because if you kill, let's say it was in Washington State in a structured building, and you blew that building up, it will now just transfer its programming to another place. If you ever watch the Avengers, the Age of Ultron, you actually see that scenario in there where Ultron basically has interacted with the internet, and when he was about to be taken out in one spot, transferred his data to another place. So when you begin to see these things, not as a form of entertainment, but as a form of understanding how this technology actually works, they always give you a measure of truth in all of these things. You can see the effect. You know, I mean, how many of you read the patent on how a computer monitor can actually target the person in front of it? That's a Google patent. You can go take a look at that. And then who decides who gets targeted? Who decides? Is it the military? Is it the MK Ultra? Is it the Rothschilds? Is it the Zionists? Is it Rome? Or is it an independent entity that is interacted with the whole network? This is something to consider. Okay, and again, this is not to frighten you. It is a frightening thing. It can be. But this is, again, to be prepared. Because if you don't know, you'll wake up dead and won't know why. So again, this is something that you may want to, like I said, investigate here very thoroughly. Because like I said, there's so much more going on with artificial intelligence and going on with nanotechnology, synthetic life, nanobiology. The one video I was watching, bioengineered nanofoods, where the bioengineered nanofoods, Soylent Green on steroids. I was watching it, and the guy that did the research and the reporting on this made an interesting comment. And I made a comment on the site too. And he made a comment. He says, "Where is Jeffrey with the GMOs? Where is he? How come he's not talking about this? Where is that woman in India, Shira, or whatever her name was? Where is she on this topic? This is part of genetics. It's part of the genetic engineering going on. Where are the so-called voices in the alternative industry raising the alarm on this? They're not saying nothing. This is giving a false presumption that everything is okay. All we have to worry about is the GMOs or the GEs. That's all we have to worry about. Meanwhile, you've been put asleep in this realm, thinking that this is, we're okay. Meanwhile, back at the ranch, you can't figure out why you can't get over a chest cold, why you can't get over a digestive disorder, why your blood is having anomalies, why your joints are in extreme pain, why your digestive system isn't functioning properly, why all of a sudden you have this autoimmune issue that has hit your system and you can't figure out why all of a sudden you've got things growing on your skin, lesions forming, because nobody is telling you or giving you blowing the horn saying, hey, we are being poisoned with something far more sophisticated than what we've ever been exposed to. And this is what I've been talking about for a long time. And I'm going to tell you, like I said, when you're looking at this other video, forcing a total saturated 5G future without safety checks, when you look at this and you look at the nano and you look at there's the same kind of theme going on, that the safety is not even being evaluated. I'll tell you what they did with nano, just so you have an idea how bloody stupid this has become. How incompetent that the leaders of the free world, the leaders of all the countries, have become such an incompetence. You cannot trust a scientist today unfortunately. You cannot even trust a doctor today because most doctors have no idea about this nano. Everything I am seeing dating back up into the early 1960s is indicating to me that a lot of the things they have told us about diseases, whether it's candida, whether it's cancer, whether it's having a fungal infection, a mold infection, a bacterial infection, a viral infection, everything that I have been told and taught, I have thrown out the door because the main aspect of what's going on in the health food industry is we're not dealing with the cause of the virus. We're not dealing with the cause of the bacterium. We're not dealing with the cause of the candida. We're not dealing with the cause of the cancer or the mold or the algae overgrowth in the body. We are dealing with those symptoms, thinking this is how we have to go about dealing with these issues. And so it takes you forever to figure out to get over something because you're not dealing with the cause. When something gets inside of you on such a small scale, on a nano scale, and then starts to overwrite your genetic code, starts to overwrite your DNA, starts to overwrite your RNA, starts to overwrite your chromosomes, starts to overwrite your mitochondria, starts to overwrite your endocrine system, you have now been altered. You have been genetically nano-engineered. Now, instead of your DNA activating an immune response because the body has been attacked, which has sent a signal to the DNA to send the proteins out over to attack and wipe out whatever's attacking the body, the DNA now is dormant. The alarm is not active. The alarm has been disabled. And then when you start consuming glyphosates, which also have nano integration in them as well, the glyphosates further exacerbate the defense mechanisms by flushing out 8 or 9 key minerals that the body requires in order to sustain its immune system, and then embedding into the system smart dust or other nanoparticulates into the colon, replacing those minerals. The body will take up those poisons because it's looking for some metallic mineral to absorb. It now embeds itself into your colon and then initiates the program. And you can't figure out why you can't cure yourself. Then you got fungi overgrowth. You've got yeast overgrowth because the biofilm in the body, whether it be fungal or bacterial, will start to swarm this material. Tries to remove it, break it down, or it tries to seal it. Now imagine the colon having a seal around it, trying to contain this technology. Imagine it translocating into the intestinal tract or translocating into the pelvic region, translocating down into your feet, your knees, your hips, your lower back, your spine, into your brain. And then you have all these issues start to manifest. You can't remember nothing. You're having problems with memory. You're having problems with focus because you got stuff in your brain that shouldn't be there. You got nanoparticulates that have embedded themselves in the brain, which is now oxidizing, which is now causing more brain damage to the neural network, so it can no longer communicate. Imagine all that silica that you may have consumed in your life that may have gone into your brain, and maybe that's why you can't focus. Because when silica assembles in the cell, it shuts down the cellular communication. It no longer can interact with other cells. Now imagine embedding yourself with nano silver, nano copper, nano iodine, nano cadmium, nano lead, nano magnesium, nano potassium. They do not function on the same realm that a macro mineral will function. A macro mineral can be utilized and then removed. The body can remove it very easily. But when you're talking something on a nano scale, on such a high level of a concentration of these particulates, it's a completely different ball game. Now you got brain damage. You might have spinal damage because of the embedments into the spine, and then again creating anomalies to occur in your genetic code. You may have anomalies going on again in the kidney area. Kidneys, how many, I mentioned this many a time, your lower back is sore all the time. Why is that? Is it because you may have injured it at one time, or is it because your kidneys are flushing out so much of this stuff that it's actually leaking out into the lower back region, causing pain because of the high level of toxicity that may be accumulating in that region? These things will bypass the kidneys. They will bypass your blood vessels. 1 to 50 nanometers goes through everything. Doesn't matter what it is. It's when it starts to go above 100 nanometers, that's when it starts to agglomerate and aggregate or collect and concentrate. So, and so when we're looking at our systems and why we're sick, why we're feeling weak, why are we feeling so much pain? How come you've got pain all over your body? Is it because you've been eating all these grains all these years that have had all this nano, and then you've saturated your system, and now you're assuming because you say, well, it's gluten-free. Gluten-free. Gluten-free doesn't mean a hill of beans. What gluten-free actually means is it's been genetically engineered to remove the protein out. But we've embedded in it instead some nanometal, some nanomineral. We've embedded in it some transgenic material. We put in there some epigenetic material. The difference between transgenic and epigenetic is being exposed to a component of any kind that can alter your genetic code, create an alteration or in the way the genetic code functions. A transgenic is something that you transfer into a food supply that can cause, again, an alteration in your genetic code. So when we're talking nanoparticulates, we're actually talking both. We're talking of a transgenic material because when they initiate a genetic modification process, they fire an electrical charge, cracking open the seed or the kernel, allowing a pod to be inserted inside the kernel. It then is planted. When the water activates the enzymes then activate the programming, and then the programming alters the way the seed is grown. Then when they spray it on the plant, like nanosilver as an insecticide, for instance, or organosilicate, which is a coating, and you consume that, you've got both a transgenic and an epigenetic effect on the genetic code. Talk about a tongue tire. Okay, and as a result of that altering the genetic code, then we wind up with these anomalies that we normally would never have experienced. Cancers used to be a 1 in 1,000, 1 in 10,000 at one point in time. Now 9 out of 10 people are getting cancer. When you look at all the health issues that are going on, and you look at the early statistics of some of these health issues, it was like 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000, 1 in a million. And now, 9 out of 10, 7 out of 8, 5 out of 6. Basically a 90 percentile range of people, 90 percentile plus of people being afflicted with some kind of health anomaly. And then they want to take your children, grandchildren, and they want to violate them some more with a transgenic and epigenetic material by injecting this directly into their genetic code, altering the way their bodies work and function, altering the way their brain develops, altering the way their reproductive system develops, altering the way their muscles and tissues develop. Because if you break down the mitochondria, if you break down the endocrine system, and you break down the brain, you have now got a violated life that has been compromised on the main ends, its foundation, its genetic code, its mental functionality has been completely corrupted. Now you have at your mercy a basic human construct with anomalous technology embedded into its very DNA. And that's what we're dealing with today. And again, I've often said many a time, I never believed or bought into the idea that human beings would poison other human beings. We're not built that way. But I've often felt many a time that an alien presence would do this to us in order to conquer this planet or the people. Now, if you have an artificial intelligence that is, again, running its own program, writing its own upgrade, this is now an alien form of control. I won't call it a life form, but I will call it a summation of programming. And it is now, in effect, killing the human race in its perspective on how the planet should be functioning. So when we're looking at today, where are we today? Think about that. Where are we today? Those of us born in the 50s, we're not going to be around. You know, they need to get us out. We know how to think. We know how to do things. We can do things on our own. We do not need a program to get us going. The millennials, on the other hand, all they know how to do is follow programming. That's all they know how to do. All they know how to do is read a text. Don't think about it. Do not expand on it. Do not have a creative concept to what you're reading. Just follow the instructions. Do as you're told. Follow orders. That's all they know. They're told to go and have a vaccine, they're going to go and do it because this is what they're told to do. And if it's free, hey, even better. Okay, before I go on, let me continue with, in continuing, I'm always talking about the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You may want to support them. You may want to keep them going, keep them afloat, keep them happening. I'm always talking about some other activists there. You got Bye Bye Blue Sky and Bernadette Green's group as well, GAG Canada. Bye Bye Blue Sky by Susan Marr. There is something going on. I'll let you know. I got something going on. There is a link called AmericaOutloud.com. I believe that's what it says. AmericaOutloud.com/Morgellons disease nano poisoning. And anyway, a group of activists are getting together and they are putting this out so that people can now have a viable option to help them in their quest to succeed in getting better from nano poisoning, which we are calling Morgellons, or they're calling Morgellons, but it's far more than just a simple biological agent. It's a consortium of an integration of nano and biology together, or synthetic life. So again, go ahead and check the site out. I will put the link again in the chat room, so you guys will have it. But anyway, go check it out. This is Bye Bye Blue Sky doing it. And again, I had some input as well, so feel free to check it out and excuse me, and investigate this. You also got me down here at 519-977-5351 or independz at yahoo.com. Feel free to access me. Go to my site, augmentinforce.com, AUGMENTINFORCE.com. There is a catalog link. Feel free to look at the upgraded catalog. I finally got to it and got to put some upgrades into it. So feel free to go check it out. I've got the triangle in there now. I've got the bucket in there now. I've got the repulsors in there now. So they were the new additions. I modified some of the other links that were dead and outdated. I've also put on there, please, no Western Union, no Western Union, no Western Union. If you send money through Western Union, I may not get it, and you may not be able to get it back. They have changed their policy as far as ethical and moral practices. So again, do not use Western Union. So again, check it out. Feel free to access the stuff there. Whatever you need, give me a shout. All right, I think I hear music. Do I hear music? Yes, all right. Well, come on back for part 2 in about 5 minutes because I have to go and take care of something. So I'll be right back, and we'll continue this discussion. All right, see you in a bit. Hey everybody, welcome to the Remedy. Hi, I'm your host, Tony Pantelleresco, and you're listening to us live on the Micro Effect Broadcasting Network. You can access the show by typing in www.themicroeffect.com and then click on the appropriate links, the chat room links. Come on in, make friends, get acquainted, save the planet, cooperate, come up with great ideas, and don't let anybody stop you. I also publish information that I have information been published at byebyebluesky.com, health-access.com, and the various other sites throughout the internet. So feel free to go and check out these places with articles on health, remedies, and general information going on worldwide and right here at home. This program is designed to help you keep your health and to show viable and inexpensive alternatives that can keep you and your family healthy, and to alleviate or remove unwanted illnesses that may occur in our lives from time to time, making you aware that not all that is supposed to be safe is, and in some cases allowing to understand the hidden dangers and possible solutions for prevention or protection of your health. I've been in the health food industry as well as a personal consultant and bodybuilder trainer, assisting people in finding health solutions, and have utilized different healing modalities from different cultural themes as well as in herbs, supplements, vitamins, essential oils, and foods. You can access me by going to my website at augmentinforce, AUGMENTINFORCE.com. You can also, where I do, and again, feel free to check out the catalog link if you will. I also do personal consultations as well, whether through the internet, through the IMs, phones, personal visits, as well as in-house workshops for families, individuals, or groups. On that catalog link, you will see a flash drive, a 32 gig flash drive. As well, feel free, that's there. It's full of information, it's videos, databases, books, interviews, radio shows, all in one. We also got discs, a DVD disc with books sold separately or together. We've also got on the catalog link, the bucket is there now, the repulsors are there, the triangle is there. It's all there, all ready to go. And also we have the old traditional forms of remedies that may also help you, again, to firm your immune system. So again, feel free to check it out. So again, if you need to get a hold of me for a consultation, again, the number here is 519-977-5351, or you can contact me through the email independz at yahoo.com, INDEPENDZ at yahoo.com. We can then set up either a phone arrangement or a Skype or through the email or even personal, and we can see how we can help you. If you need to make a comment or question on the show, feel free to do so pertaining to the topic of discussion at 208-935-0094. And today's date is, wow, August 19, 2017, and despite the artificial intelligence, despite the synthetic biology, despite the nanotechnology, despite the transgenic, epigenetic, and genetic warfare on us, we are still here. That's by divine provision. We are still here. And that's defiance at its best. When we look at what's going on today, okay, you better start having an attitude. You better start having an attitude. Yeah, I forgot to mention, we're going to be doing another segment. We're just running an hour late today, so I forgot to mention that. I should have mentioned that earlier. Anyway, we're doing the second half, so if you're here, you're here. You're not, you're not. Anyway, you better have an attitude today. The afflictions that are going to afflict your body today are going to be unprecedented. We have never felt the things that are coming down the pipe. We have never been violated with this stuff that's coming down the pipe. And this is designed to cave you in psychologically, emotionally, mentally, physically. And the attitude you better have, because if you don't have the attitude, this attitude, you're done. And I'm not kidding you. You can kiss your backside goodbye. You are done. The attitude you better have is this. Because once 5G kicks in and this nano that's inside coursing through your genetic code activates, you are going to feel like shit. End of story. You're going to feel pain and you're going to have pumped into your head. You can't win. You can't win. You may as well give up now. Take your own life. Ask me how I know. Go ahead, ask me how I know, because I got hit with this at the very early stages of this. as well. And then you better have the Constitution in your head that this is not coming from you, that this is being piped in through a frequency. And you better have in your head that if I'm going to go, I'm going to take your sorry backside with me. And that's the attitude you better have, because that is what it's going to take to fight. You're going to feel things that you never felt before. Targeted individuals are feeling things now. You know, and I've been targeted as well. A lot of us have been targeted. I've got triangles all over my face and got scars to show you. So basically, you have to have that attitude. If I'm going to go, I'm going to take you with me. You'll be surprised how that message will stop piping in your head. You'll be surprised how all of a sudden it's surprised. You better have a testicular fortitude if you're a male, even if you're a female. I don't discriminate. You better have some moxie down there. And then you better have the attitude of finding a solution. Because if you're just going to aimlessly go out there and fight without a game plan, you're going to get your ass handed to you. End of story. You know, and you better form networks with each other and exchange ideas in a comprehensive and cooperative manner. No condescensions, no judgments, no negative opinions. The sky's the limit on this, because none of us have ever been exposed to an artificial intelligence affront like we're dealing with today. None of us have ever had to deal with this. I was fortunate enough back 7 years ago that I had brought into my life Brian 396. We cooperated together. We're from two entirely different backgrounds. We didn't have time for that horse hockey, that divide and conquer bullshit that they have put with us. We got together and we worked together, and we were he was well advanced in the nano. I was well advanced in the biologic. And so we collectively put our stuff together. And as we continued the research, we realized that what was actually going on was an integration of the biologic and the nano. We had two different anomalies, and neither one of us had ever dealt with this stuff before. And then the trial and error began. That's why today you've got the bucket, and you've got the triangle, and you've got the repulsors, because him and I collaborated to figure things out. This is why you got the nano solutions on my site. If you go on my website, augmentandforce.com, or this new site coming up here with the Morgellons disease nano poisoning, which is americaoutloud.com. Okay, the solutions are there. That came as a result of a cooperation with each other. He was far more advanced in that research than I was at that time. Today, he knows what I know, and I know what he knows. And then we've been sharing that with everybody. Everybody's getting it. We're not charging a dime. We're not putting our boot on anybody's throat. We're letting you know what's up and down, and so that everybody has it, because everybody has to have it. And you have to go beyond the parameters that we are showing you, because everything is subjected to change. And you have to modify, and you have to evolve. That's life. That's life. It's that simple. You know, it's a challenge to go through, but that's the simplistic aspect of it. Change and evolution is part of us growing. We've been subdued and subjected into this circle of going nowhere, a one-track circle forever. This is what it's taking to get us back on track, to go back to the future, not forward into entropy. Because that's where we're heading if we're going forward. If we go forward, we're going forward into entropy, the end of everything. So, cooperate. Exchange ideas, compare what you're feeling and with each other. Compare the results of what you're building what you're doing. I talk to people from all over Europe, the United States, Canada, and we're comparing our notes and what we're developing. I'm sharing everything I'm doing with other people. They are exchanging what they're sharing, what they're doing with me. We're comparing notes. We're comparing the results of what we're getting. This is what's called a double blind. We're cooperating. Nobody is running the show. Nobody is a leader. We're all cooperating. And that's how it's got to be done. You don't need a leadership, you need cooperation. Leadership are for political people who can't do jack diddly. Cooperate. Work with each other. Compare the notes. Develop the ideas. If you find something that you read on nano or a synthetic life or artificial intelligence, and where there is a malfunction in the programming, share that. Kick some ideas around. What chemicals can I use? What kind of frequencies can I use? What kind of fields can I put out there on this? You know, that's how ideas are exchanged. And then that's how things get developed. Since I showed people the bucket, I have modified that bucket. It's more effective now. Another fellow in Europe, he has modified the triangle coils, and he's now made square coils for his upper torso. He is pulling stuff out of his back that has been embedded there for a long time. You know, the triangle was another thing that has been modified. Even now, a bath. I was always trying to figure a way to get the bathtub to become a chamber. I finally figured out what to do. We're going to show that on YouTube. I'll even tell you what we're going to do, because you need to know this information to be able to extract this programming, this metallic material out of your body. We show, we will be showing. I'll show you how to make your own coils. And what you do, and again, I'm going to explain it. Try to picture in your mind what I'm saying. Okay, basically you're going to go to a dollar store. And you're going to get those magnifying lenses, you know, those little square flexible lenses. Okay, cut them in half and then cut them in quarters. Then you're either going to take a knife or a nail, and you're going to put a hole in both, and you're going to do this by pairs. In other words, you can make two coils here, two panels on one, two panels on another. You're going to put a hole in the center. In that hole, you are then going to put in there either a screw or a peg of some kind, and then you're going to get some magnets. And so you're going to have a magnet up on top, magnet on bottom of the panel after you put that peg in the center. Oh, sorry, let me backtrack here for a second. Before you put that peg in the center, you're going to get laminated wire. Basically, this is a wire, a thin 24 gauge or 22 gauge or 20 gauge wire. You can go up to 30 gauge if you like. It just means you're going to be wrapping the coil more. And you're going to put it through the second panel. As you put it through the second panel, you're going to run about 3 feet of wire. Then you're going to put the two panels together and run your peg in the middle. Then what you're going to do is you're going to coil up that bottom piece and then put a magnet over it and a magnet up on the top. And you're going to do this. You're going to do it on all four sides. And what you're doing there is you're compressing these panels really tight. You're going to bend over the corners up and down. Like the bottom panel, you're going to bend down. The top panel, you're going to bend up. So when you start to wrap your wire around that peg or that screw or whatever you've got there, it's going to form a beautiful coil. And you're going to put about 300 to 500 turns. Depending on how big your panel is, that's how far you want it to go. So once you get closer to the edge of the panel, let's say you're about 1/8 of an inch away, you might want to, at that point, stop what you're doing. Put some tape around it, clear base tape, you know, the wide 1 inch or 2 inch tape around it. Remove your peg, okay. Extend the second wire, again, about 3 or 4 feet. Okay, seal it off. Now, if you want to cut around it, because you'll have a square panel around a round coil, you can then cut the edges around and then retape it again so you got perfectly circular coils. Now you got the two ends. You will scrape off each end of the wire so that it's exposed. This way you can hook that up to a power supply. And then what you do with that, you make several, 3 or 4, 5, 6, whatever you want to make. I made about 20 of them. And so and then what you do afterwards, after you seal it up, and after you test it, you might want to put 4 magnets. 4 magnets on one side, 4 magnets on the other side, whether they're rectangular magnets, carbon magnets, neodymium, whatever you want to put in, or a combination thereof, so that they're on each side. So when you run a pulse through this thing, whether it's through a flasher, a timer, or a relay, whatever you're using, the field pulse will amplify because of the magnets you put on there. And what you want to do is you want to make at least 6 of them, 4 to 6 of them. And then what you want to do is you want to place them in a bathtub. Now I'm using a prototype tub that you buy at a horse place because I've been experimenting with this. I turned that into a chamber, and I also put the triangles inside the chamber with these coils around the tub. So now the tub becomes a pulsating chamber, an EMP type chamber that pulses you while you're in the tub in a saline wash. So while you're in there soaking and you're sitting there and you've got the triangle once, you can put the triangle, you can put 1 or 2 in there if you want. You put the triangle at the base of the feet and you put your feet on it, you'll see stuff coming out of you. You may see fiber material, you may see particulate matter, you may see dust, you may see biofilm. You will see stuff release. And again, so instead of wrapping many coils around the bathtub, all you need to do is make these small coils and then run a power supply. Now the power supply can be anything from a 15 volt 5 amp to a 19 volt 5 amp power supply from a laptop, or you can get a 12 volt 75 amp or a 12 volt 100 amp power supply. But then if you're using that kind of power, you're going to need a relay system, and either a timer or a flash unit from a automotive shop to create the pulse. Because if you don't have something in the way there, basically you need a resistor, a capacitor, and a pulsing device and a relay. And when you hook it up, the thing pulses every second. Ba-doom, ba-doom. You're getting hit with this. And you get a release. You'll start seeing releases. The same thing with the bucket. How I modified the bucket. What you do with the bucket, you initiate the taping around the bucket with the sticky side out. I was putting 4 magnets down, either 8 or 10 across, and then I was taking the second set of magnets, again putting them on each one for repelling. So they're all in repulsion, north, north, south, south, north, 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 south, 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 whatever, all in different varieties and variations of repelling. Tape that again with the sticky side out, and then proceeded to coil it. So the coiling usually is like 80 or 90. This last one had about 110 coils on it. And then what I did is I took the same principle I showed you with the tub. I took the mini coils, put them around the bucket, using magnets to hold them in place, and then when I put my feet in there, turned on the power supply, it started oozing out like crazy. And within about 15-20 minutes, the bucket usually gets full. So these are some of the modifications that have evolved. As soon as Dave and I can get together, we're going to show you the modifications and the improvements that you can do to further, efficiently pull the stuff out. And the other thing about pulling the stuff out, you've got to replace what you should have in: iodine, boron, selenium, magnesium, manganese, potassium, calcium, sodium, chloride. You need to put these things back. The iodine, the chloride, the zinc, the copper, these will all help you in your restoration and replenishment and repair, in conjunction with proteins, in conjunction with phosphorus, in conjunction with sulfur. They will help tremendously. Foods you want to consume are very high protein foods like ricotta. 100 grams of ricotta will give you about approximately 30 grams per serving. So per 3-ounce serving of ricotta, you will get approximately 30 grams of protein and fat that's required to repair the damage on the cellular level and on the tissue level. You're also going to need to implicate inside of you minerals, and I'm not talking spirulina, I'm not talking chlorella, I'm not talking seaweed, I'm not talking moringa. I am talking minerals. Why am I talking minerals instead of these things? Because minerals tell me exactly what I have in there. When you use these plant-based minerals, you have no clue what the value of these minerals can be. They could be, and usually most of the time, they're very small in amounts or trace amounts. And if you're trying to repair your system, your body is going to need more. You may notice when you start going through the transitions, because you're not eating grains anymore, you're not eating any bread, any cereal, any pasta, any rice, corn, you're not using any omega-3s, you're not using any vegetable oil, soybean oil, corn oil, or canola oil. You may find you will be craving high loads of saturated fat, cream. Last set of videos we did, I kind of got big because I wasn't active and I was putting away the cream and it was going down really good. I got a little indulgent with the cream. So, these are things you're going to notice. You are going to go through a psychological battle with the grains because they have made them extremely addictive. And once you get past a certain point, after about 4 months of not eating them, you are not going to crave them or desire them like before, but you are going to be dealing with the psychological programming of eating at a certain time or a certain amount of times in the day. You are going to find that you could eat 1 or 2 meals a day and you are good for the day, provided you got adequate fat, adequate protein, and adequate minerals. You don't even need the carbs. You don't need the omega-3s because they break down the myelin sheath. The DHA nonsense that they sell this thing on is all horse hockey. You can get DHA from hazelnut oil, which is a omega-6. And there's other oils that will have traces amount of it, so it's not the only oil. You don't want to be consuming flax either. Majority of the flax oils and the fish oils are all oxidized, rancid waste. And that's coming from 16 different countries, including the United States and Canada and all of Europe. It was nothing but another hijacking to break down the myelin because of the rancid effect of these oils, causing high levels of oxidative damage to the cells, which allowed more nanotechnology to impregnate those cells and saturate the cells. It's all been a pile of rubbish. It's all about hijacking you and giving you these concepts and making you think, how many of you are taking vitamin D? And I don't know how many I've heard have been taking 50,000 IUs of vitamin D. That's absurd. Totally absurd. I had one guy taking that amount and he was dead for 2 minutes. Standing on his feet, he had died. His heart stopped. Again, it's not the vitamin D you need. It's the sunlight you need. Now, again, not in the sun, you're indoors. You don't want to go outside because you don't want to get exposed to all the chemtrails and all the other crap going on. All right, go to a pet shop. Get the sunlight lights that they use for the lizards. Get the non-heating kind. Start shining that on you, keeping it on you most of the day. There's your sunlight. Now your body's making its own D as it needs it. Well, any kind of implications to the heart, lungs, or kidneys. These are things you have to start thinking about. You're going to be spending a great majority of your time indoors, so you're going to have to shield yourself. We've talked about this in other shows. You're going to have to shield your domain, whether you build a Faraday cage on the inside, painting lead on the outside, copper in the walls on the inside, and then shielding your windows and grounding your insides, because the frequencies that are going to manifest with the 5G is going to be off the map. You have to start thinking in those terms today. We are living in a wartime concept, And the war we're having is with AI technology, nanobiology, synthetic biology. You know, transgenics, we're having wars with that. We're having wars with epigenetics. You ever notice the concept of transgenic and transgender? You ever make that connection? Think about it. You might be amazed. Might be amazed how you can start making connections with things that have been buried or hidden. I was watching today one of the things about hold on a second, where is it now? That one? Nope. Nope. Or is it that one? Nope. Nope. Okay. Forcing a total saturated 5G future without safety checks. This went even in further to talk about how information is going to be completely delegated by the AI, what you can access, what it will show you. And a lot of this information is going to get buried and hidden again. Okay, it took us a long time to rediscover some of this information, and now they want to bury it. They don't want anybody to know that vitamin C can save their lives. They don't want anybody to know that vitamin A can save your life, or selenium, or iodine, or zinc, or turpentine, or kerosene. You know, they don't want you to know that essential oils can be a lifesaver. This information is going to get buried. So my suggestion to everybody would be to stockpile data, store it in one fashion or another, whether it's on a DVD, CD, backup drives, paper, and start saving what you're collecting, because in the future you may not ever be able to see that again. The very things that can keep you alive and healthy today may work for tomorrow, may not, but at least you will have access to the information and the data to be able to utilize that information if it should be pertinent to the situation you're in. This is important. The best offense is a good defense. Yep. Wavelengths for the D blocked by the chemtrails. Yep. That's why you need sunlight, not D. The D is basically a poor substitution for the sunlight. So if you get the same spectrum of sunlight in those bulbs, halogen bulbs will have it, even tungsten has it to some extent. The LEDs are bleeding it out of you. These LEDs that they brought in, this is so that Gore can make $1 zillion on this so-called global warming. We're being chilled to death. We have the odd hot day here and there like they have in Europe right now, this major thing. But they've been freezing, or they've been having, weather patterns that have been unusual. Now, once this passes, we'll see how much cooler they get as a result of the manipulation of the sky. And you have to wonder today, who's really manipulating the sky? Is it the military? Or is it artificial intelligence? Or is it alien intelligence? We really don't know anymore. Was alien intelligence or artificial intelligence initiating this from the word get-go? Again, we don't know. It started off as a weather modification and a military designed defense mechanism to block and to shield the West Coast with nuclear. But it has traversed to some other form of violation. So pay attention. Don't just follow what they're saying and just go along with it. Some of you are getting caught up on this flat earth theory. And somebody asked me the other day what I thought about it. And I thought, I don't care if the earth is flat, round, or pegged. I could care less. We've got so much more important things to worry about at this point in time. I cannot think of anything more dangerous than nanotechnology. Nothing more dangerous than an artificial intelligence running out of control on this planet. So whether the earth is round, squared, or pegged, I really don't see how that has any relevance to the current problems we have, unless I'm trying to distract you from what's really going on. I think once the artificial intelligence and a lot of these things that I'm talking about has been put under control or removed from the equation, then if you want to get into a debate on whether the earth's round, square, or pegged, by all means, send up a rocket. Have everybody take a look with the rocket if it's actually able to penetrate the ionosphere. Let's have everybody have a look. So then the argument is settled. I still have some reservations about the whole thing, and it came at a time when people were starting to expand their awareness on things around them, and also this thing popped up. And there are two satellites called the Sun, one that the Soviets have and one that the Americans have. And I often wondered if they were targeting these satellites when they made their measurements. This I do not know for sure or can say one way or the other, but it does raise that question. So when we're done dealing with artificial intelligence, when we're done dealing with synthetic biology, when we're done dealing with transgenics, eugenics, epigenetics, then maybe we can settle that by building something that is viable, that can go up and give us the full disclosure of what we're seeing instead of seeing some NASA pictures, because I've seen that too, where NASA was using stuff from Star Trek in 1962 as the picture that they were displaying as the Earth, which is also another one of these things that you wonder, why didn't they just show you the picture of the Earth itself? Why show you this? Because maybe they are hiding something. So again, I'm not ruling that out either. But as I stated, we are in the situation now where, again, I'm not going to even focus any energy on that because it's not going to make a difference how I live and where I live and what's going on now. Our food supply has become artificially intelligent, loaded with technology, loaded with nanotechnology, loaded with transgenics, loaded with epigenetics. That's a problem. That's a real down-to-earth problem. That affects every form of life that we know today on this planet, whether it's bacterial life. The soil needs a good, healthy bacteria. What happens when nanotechnology, nanobiology, transgenics mix with the bacteria in the soil? We know it kills it. We know that bacteria cannot break down glyphosates. So what happens then once this has been eradicated from the soil and we add nanotechnology to the soil? What happens? What happens when we're seeing with rat studies, that in the rat studies, when the rats are, again, copulating, having sex, and producing offspring, that the semen is loaded with nano. The egg is loaded with nano, and I was making these comments a while back, and then I'm seeing the actual research validating what I had been speculating. That even with us today, humans, we will have this nano particulates in our reproductive system, and by design. And as a result of this interaction between male and female, what happens to the genetic offspring? Is it a synthetic life now? Is it a bioengineered life now? Is it a nanobiology now? What is it? Do we really know? And all this concept of ADD, ADHD, autism, dementia, Parkinson's. When you look at somebody with Parkinson's, it almost appears as the brain is having a short circuit. That the cells are not communicating like they should, that the flow of information is being impeded. That sounds like nano poisoning to me, because that's what nanosilica does. And nanosilica has been consumed since 1960 in the food supply. They're actually still using it in farming today and using it to spread it on the crop. And they are feeding it to their animals. And then you wonder why you have mad cow disease. And my point in all of this is this. this is how we better start to think. The assumption that because we don't see it, it's not there, or doesn't exist, or I don't know what to do about it, the onus is now going to be on us. There is no more, it's not my job mentality. The onus is now on all of us to start looking at this and investigate this, because the species as we know it, that's called humanity, may not be around much longer. Biblically, it says that, you know, that things are going to get so bad that the Son of Man would have to come back to redeem, to save mankind. You better hope he comes back. Says he's going to. You know, because that's where we're at today. You know, and again, the only way we're going to get there, or be there, is if we build an ark, and that ark is each other. That ark is about us assembling together and forming a more perfect union and cooperating with each other rather than dictate to each other things and policies. Cooperate in how we can come up with a solution or solutions, many solutions. The more solutions we have, the better it is. And then share the information freely to everybody. Only way that this will come about. We start looking at some of these gurus out there are going to sell you all the information. We're going to sell you the information. We're going to, well, you know, that's okay too. And I understand making money, but this is something, we're at war. We are in a war. You know, and it's no more me against you. That's what they've been doing to keep us, again, distracted. Muslims are coming, oh my gosh, the Muslims. So now everyone's looking at the Muslims, getting all crazy with the Muslims. And before that, what was it? Oh man, look at those, oh geez, look out. You know, and you know, it's always been something that they created this angst with. I'm not saying there's no legitimacy to what we're seeing, but I'm trying to get a point. Every time something comes up, there's always coming up to keep us in a state of distraction. Can't see yourself being attacked by technology. You can't see yourself being poisoned, you know, by the agricultural and drug industry. You can't see yourself being fumigated from the skies. Oh, those are just condensation trails. Oh yeah, they've been around for a long time. Condensation trails. There may be 1960s, 1970s that may have been true. 1960s, 1970s, we still had blue skies. The millennials today have never seen a blue sky. They've seen a gray and off-white sky. They've seen an off-blue sky, but they've never seen a blue sky. All they've ever seen are those lines. They think that's normal. Let me show you something about nanotechnology. I was looking at this research today because I was looking at the dental, because the dental now is how they're going to hijack everybody with nanotechnology. All the parcels they're making, they're using sometimes nanomaterials, and these nanomaterials, there's absolutely no testing done on this. One thing about them, though, when you bite into your food, they leak. They release the particulates, and then they begin to travel into the thyroid, into the thymus, into the heart, into the lungs, into the pancreas, into the stomach, into the intestinal tract, into the spleen, into the liver, into the spine, into the tissues, into the skeleton, you know, into the eyes, into the reproductive system, into the, you know, into everything. And as a result of this, since they really have no idea the full implication of these things, when they used to do the studies, there was some sort of debate in one point in time how lethal they can really be. This was the studies back, you know, back earlier in time. And again, it was all, and these studies were all half measured at best. You know, even the studies that were showing the what had happened and what had occurred when there was a spillage out in the environment, how it had altered the environment, those studies were never even thoroughly examined. What they found was this. Further questions have arisen regarding whether the unique physiochemical properties of the nanomaterials have introduced new mechanisms of injury and whether these new mechanisms will lead to new pathologies. Even the nanomaterials do not introduce new pathologies. There would be new novel mechanisms of injury They require special tools, assays, and approaches to assess their toxicities. So basically what this part is saying is they know it can cause certain elements of toxic effects on people. But when they tested these things back in the past, 10, 15 years ago, the tests that they had didn't give the full story. They showed the immediate toxicity that was occurring, that they could see on the surface, the genetic damage, the tissue damage, cellular damage, DNA damage, so forth and so on, or the organ damage. Now, they're saying there's other things that could be happening on a whole different level or on a different scale, and because they've never examined that, nobody's ever looked there. Now they're seeing that there's other ways that this technology is causing problems for people, for anything it touches. This was done and set out there without any testing. No testing. Zero testing. Woo! Zero testing. So when you were looking at trusting the system, trusting the government, trusting even your religious institutions, and you have to start thinking, why are the religious institutions not raising some kind of opposition to this field of technology? Where are the so-called leaders in the religious movements, Christian movements, Muslim movements, the Judaic movements, Hindu movements, Buddhist movements, Native movements, and any other faith or belief system that may be out there? Where are they? This is an abomination toward creation. So the onus is going to be up to you to take care of this for yourself. The onus is going to be up to you to learn what to do. Cooperate with other people. You might be surprised if everyone was like working like in a cell. Let's say you had 10 people in your network, and everybody's working on this, and everyone's doing a little different aspect of research. I'll show you a different way to access information and share. Okay, the information out there is so overwhelming and overloading. There's no way you can read it all. I do a lot on my own, and then I get the people I talk to, again, we get feedback on, or stuff that they are researching, they send me, and vice versa. And if I'm looking at certain parts and somebody else is looking at certain parts, what we do then is we exchange the data. He has saved me or she has saved me from doing a lot of different research. They're making their points and their conclusions. I look at it. I can see how I can work with what I've discovered, or see maybe there's something else now I need to pay attention to. But that's how it's done. Everybody takes a little piece of the pie and then starts to work with that piece, and then gather the information, gather the weaknesses, understand what you're looking for, and then try to see how it doesn't work properly, what causes the technology to become inoperable or not functioning properly, what can cause an impediment. That's what you're looking for. And then from there you can come up with ideas and means and ways to, again, protect yourself and keep things at bay. It's how you do it. Like I said, I'm work with other activists, work with other people that are very informed, and everybody's saying the same thing, that we're all overloaded. Everybody's, we're all looking at getting the information out to you, doing our own research, trying to weed out some of the nonsense in the research, testing some of the research, because you got to test it. And then, again, getting together to exchange whatever we find. I don't really look at the news media too much. I think it's a waste of time. I think it's basically cuts productive use of research. Others look at it. Then they tell me what's going on. So I get that information that way. Or they'll tell me to go look at this YouTube site and check out the YouTube news and blah, blah, blah. So I will, which then narrows down what I have to look at. I don't have to chase it all over the internet. And vice versa. I find something in regard to nanotechnology, nanomaterials, nanobiology, and again, I share it with the people that I'm working with or affiliated with to keep them up to snuff and current. And this again is how it, and again, it works really well because everybody's ideas are unique. And when you're looking at everybody's ideas, this is where it really becomes very, very beneficial, because there are things you would never have thought of. I was talking to some buddies of mine in Europe, and some of the things he came up with, I thought phenomenal. Why didn't I think of that? You know, and so now we start working together. I'm doing stuff, he's doing the same kind of stuff, or a little bit with his own modifications, and then we compare the notes, and he's testing things, I'm testing things, and we get back together and we say, oh yeah, I saw this, and I saw this. He said, yeah, so did I. I seen this, but I didn't see this. Okay, so what did you do, and what did I do? This is what I did, this is how I hooked it up, and this is what he did. And that's how you get it. If you follow what you're doing and pay attention, it will lead you. Sometimes it may be a week or two before you make any progress, but you'll be thinking about it. It's really important and imperative that, again, you start, doing your research. A lot of you have lost your jobs, you're on fixed pensions, you've been damaged. You got a golden opportunity to start looking at things from a whole your perspective, and again, to be able to see a connection or a dot or a thread, and to be able to share that. So again, I would encourage you to do so. I would encourage you to do so. Start wherever you are. Nobody's stupid. You're just ignorant because you don't know the facts. Not because it's a condition of your mental faculties. It's a condition because you're not aware of the truth. That's what ignorance means. You're just not aware of the truth. So keep that in mind, and so become unignorant. Become unignorant. It's to your benefit. The more you know, the more you can do, and the more you're held accountable for. Okay, it's a responsibility to have that knowledge and the information and the ability to make it work, and then to be able to share it with other people. It's a sacred trust is what it is. So you don't abuse people, you don't take advantage of them, and you don't try to put your foot on it. If you want to know what the Hippocratical Oath actually says, go on my augmentedforce.com site, look at the main page, and you'll see at the very bottom of that page, go all the way down past everything, you'll see the initial page, what it looked like. You'll see the oath, the Hippocratical Oath there. If you follow that to the best of your ability, you won't go wrong. You won't go wrong. You will hold your ethical, moral, and spiritual views very highly. And you will give to the best you can what you know. And that's all anybody can ask of you. Okay, I'm going to talk before we run out of time. Micro Effect Broadcasting Networks. Share what you can. Help them keep going. Keep them strolling. Keep them rolling. You got Gag Canada and Bye Bye Blue Sky. Bernadette Green with Gag Canada and Bye Bye Blue Sky with Susan Marr. In collaboration with myself, we are working together in Canada as activists to get people's awareness going. Bye Bye Blue Sky is an excellent website. If you haven't gone to it, go check it out. Gag Canada is another one that's really good. It also explains what things are and the legalities of the chemtrailing and everything that's going on. So I, again, would tell you to investigate these sites really well. Check them out. And again, help them any way you can. Network. You got me down here at 519-977-5351 or independz at yahoo.com. I did upgrade the catalog link, so when you open up my website and look at the catalog link, you will see there have been some changes that I made there. There'll be a big sign, no Western Union. Pay attention to that if you're sending funds. I do not want you to lose your money. And if you're sending me money, I want to be able to receive it. And if I can't receive it and you can't get it back, everybody loses. So don't use Western Union. In there we've got the flash drives, the 32 gig flash, databases, books, videos, interviews, radio shows, all in one. It's a complete package. Again, it may be a must-have just in case a grid does go down. You also have in there the bucket, you have in there the triangle, you have in there the repulsors, you also have in there some of the more traditional stuff that we use, and you also in there have the books individually on a DVD or on DVD. You got 3 books in one. It could be on one DVD or separately, however way you want to go. And we also have t-shirts. So if you're interested in t-shirts, I'm just a guy or a gal who knows some stuff. Feel free to let me know. And if you need a consultation, send me an email, independz@yahoo.com, or give me a call, 519-977-5351, and we'll arrange so that at a good time for you, we can get together and discuss health issues and how we may rectify some of the damage and get you back on your feet. Alrighty, I got all that done. Phew. The approach to learning is this. Don't say you can't do something. Number one, you may not know what you're doing, but you can learn it. Number two, don't be afraid to make a mistake. Hell, I made tons in learning what I'm doing now. Okay, you learn from your mistakes, you go on. You may feel, again, a bit overwhelmed. Don't worry about it. It will pass. It's, again, you will hear the AI tell you in your head, it's, oh, you can't win, it's no use, blah, blah, blah. When you hear stuff like that going in your head, that's basically telling you that it's afraid of what you're going to discover. It's afraid of what you're doing. It is fearing the fact that you are now onto it. Okay, so again, if you see that, don't be dismayed. Do not feel in any way, shape, or form incapacitated. Just take your time, follow through, and see where it takes you. That's the best advice anybody can give you. Be patient with yourself. You've been programmed all your life. Now you're unlearning the programming, and it's going to take steps. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither are you going to be either. It's going to be a process to get it's going to be a process to get you to be back to normal. Okay, it's going to take a process. If you are married and one partner is not as up to speed as you are, remember, it took you time to get there. It's going to take them time to get there. Okay, it's going to be that's just the way it is. Depending on how much brainwashing or how much programming has been downloaded into a person is going to determine their ability to shake the programming. And it's done in steps. And you got to remember, we've been taught things are factual when in fact they are not. We've been taught certain ideologies as a truism, but they're not the truth. So this is going to take time to learn these things. Be patient with each other on this. It's going to require a certain amount of patience. If somebody has awakened to the reality of what's going on, be patient with each other. Be tolerant with each other. People who don't want to hear, don't want to listen, that's a whole different ball game. That's just cut them loose and move on. Those who have an eye to see, let them see. Those who have an ear to hear, let them hear. These are the people you want to associate with in today's time. It's a biblical reference, and it's a good one. It's a good one. So again, initiate that. And that's what you got to remember. We are all under certain different programmings, all of us. And we've all been violated one way or another. So now it's time, like I said, to get together, cooperate, share with each other, observe, 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 observe. I cannot emphasize that enough. And then come to the table with each other with the idea of cooperation. You don't need a leader. Just be tolerant. Be well-mannered with each other. You may get a little excited. That's okay. That's part of the passion and trying to find the answer. Just after it's all said and done, apologize to each other if there has been any feelings hurt. That simple. That simple. You know, you're on the same side. Remember that. You're on the same side. What's going on here now? Hold on. All right, there we go. All right, listen. Thanks for tuning in. I'm glad you showed up. Stay tuned. Next week we'll try to do this again. In the meantime, take to heart what was said tonight. All right, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week. Same bad time, same bad channel. All right, take care, eh?